I stood at the microphone in front of 200 guests and destroyed my marriage with a single click of a remote control. The ballroom at Bristol Harbor Hotel fell silent as the video ended. 15 feet of evidence, bank transfers, hotel receipts, text messages discussing my death, hung on the screen behind me. My wife Catherine sat frozen at table 3, her elegant blue dress suddenly looking like a costume. My brother David had his hand on the exit door, but my daughter Rebecca blocked his path. 40, 2 years of marriage, I said into the microphone. My voice didn't shake. I'd practiced this. 20 years of lies. My wife Catherine and my brother David have been lovers since at least 2003. They stole 243,000 pounds from our retirement savings to fund their affair. And 3 months ago, while I was in hospital after my heart attack, they texted each other about how much longer they'd have to wait for me to die. Someone gasped. Phones came out, recording no doubt. Catherine's hands covered her face. David looked like he might vomit. My chest tightened, that familiar pressure the doctors warned me about. Stress could kill me, they said. I looked at Catherine across the ballroom, at David trying to disappear, at the 200 witnesses to this moment. Worth it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I became the kind of man who'd burn down 42 years in front of 200 witnesses. It started with a birthday card. I'm Martin Ashford. For 40 years I restored historic buildings, Victorian homes, Georgian estates, cathedrals that had stood for centuries. I understood foundations, structure, permanence. The way load, bearing walls distribute weight. How a crack in the basement eventually brings down the roof. Turns out I understood buildings better than people. I'm 67 now, recently retired from the architecture firm I co-founded in 1990. Ashford and Associates specialized in historic preservation. We saved buildings that lesser firms would have demolished. Bristol Cathedral's north transept restoration was mine. So was the Victorian Railway Station in Bath, the Georgian Terrace in Clifton. My buildings will outlast me by centuries. I was quite proud of that. I married Catherine Sullivan in June 1983. I was 25, fresh out of university with an architecture degree and dreams bigger than my bank account. She was 23, an art student with paint perpetually under her fingernails and opinions about every building we passed. We were poor and happy, which people say is impossible but isn't. She gave up painting when Rebecca was born in 1985. Temporarily, she said. Then Thomas arrived in 1987 and temporary became permanent. I was building my career, 18-hour days, projects across England, nights spent hunched over drafting tables. Catherine managed everything else. The children, the finances, the house I'd bought us in Clifton that needed more restoration than I'd admitted. She was brilliant at it. Our Victorian home became something out of a magazine. High ceilings, original cornicing, that perfect blend of historic character and modern comfort. I'd done the structural work myself, evenings and weekends for 5 years. Catherine chose every paint color, every piece of furniture, turned my architectural vision into a home. We had separate bedrooms the last decade. My snoring, she said. I accepted that. Accepted a lot of things, actually. The distance that crept in somewhere, between Thomas's graduation and Rebecca's wedding. The way we'd become polite roommates who occasionally ate dinner together. More coffee, darling. She'd ask on Sunday mornings. Please, I'd say, not looking up from the paper. 42 years of marriage. I thought we were comfortable. Thought this was what happened when love matured, settled, quiet, undemanding. My brother David has always been part of our life. 5 years younger than me. He's the only family I have left since our father died in 2010. Our mother passed when David was 17, I was 22, already at university. I became something between brother and father to him. Paid his tuition, got him his first job in real estate development, stood as best man at his wedding in 1995. His divorce came through in 2009. Growing apart, he said. I believed him. Believed everything David told me, actually. He was my brother. We had Sunday dinners together, David, Catherine, me, our children and grandchildren. Every week for decades. He was Uncle David to Rebecca and Thomas, the fun uncle who brought expensive presents and told inappropriate jokes. Every Christmas, every birthday, every family milestone. David was there. I'd watch him make Catherine laugh at some story from his latest property deal, watch her smile the way she used to smile at me, and I'd feel grateful. Grateful my brother gave her the attention I was too busy to provide. 2 Sundays before I found the card, we had one of those perfect family breakfasts. Catherine made her famous pancakes. Rebecca brought photos from her latest corporate law victory. Thomas discussed the book his English class was reading. My 4 grandchildren, Rebecca's 2 and Thomas's 2, aged 4 to 12, created beautiful chaos. David sat at the head of my table, in my house, eating my wife's pancakes. Catherine's brother Leo, the retired judge, was traveling in Scotland that week, or he'd have been there too. Our usual crowd. Kathy, you've outdone yourself, David said, reaching for thirds. Martin, you're a lucky man. Don't I know it, I replied. Catherine smiled at me across the table, warm, genuine. Or so I thought. I was planning my 70th birthday party then. Catherine had suggested the grand ballroom at Bristol Harbour Hotel. Let's celebrate properly, she'd said a few weeks earlier, curled up on the sofa with her tablet, browsing venues. 42 years together. Your incredible career. Our family. We should make it special. Whatever you'd like, I'd said, sketching details for a client's kitchen renovation. I'm thinking 200 guests. String quartet. Sit-down dinner. Maybe a video tribute Grace could put together, photos from over the years. Sounds perfect, darling. She'd kissed my cheek. I'd barely looked up from my drawing. 3 weeks later, I'd use every bit of her planning against her. It was a Tuesday evening in late October when I found the card. Catherine had gone to her book club. She went every Tuesday, had for years. I was retrieving her winter coat from the bedroom closet, thinking it needed dry cleaning before the weather turned properly cold. The card fell from behind the shoe rack. Expensive cardstock, Tiffany blue. I picked it up, thinking she'd bought herself a birthday card to send someone. Then I opened it. To my darling C, 20 years of Tuesdays. Forever yours, D. The handwriting was David's. I'd seen it on 1,000 birthday cards, Christmas cards, notes left on our kitchen counter. My brother's distinctive scrawl, the way he looped his Y's. My hands started shaking. I sat down on Catherine's side of the bed. We'd had separate rooms for a decade, but I still thought of the master bedroom as hers. The card was dated from last week. Current, recent, real. I'm an architect. My brain works in numbers, calculations, structural integrity. 20 years, 50, 2 weeks per year. 1,040 Tuesdays, give or take. 1,040 times Catherine had kissed me goodbye, told me she was going to book club or volunteering at the art museum, and driven to my brother's bed instead. The details matter. I always told my architecture students that. And there were so many details I'd missed. The overnight bag she took to book club. The particular flush in her cheeks on Tuesday evenings when she came home. The way David always asked about her volunteering at Sunday dinners. That little smile they shared. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. I should have confronted her that night. Waited for her to come home, thrown the card in her face, demanded answers. Instead, I put it back exactly where I'd found it. Went to my study. Stared at my architectural drawings until the lines blurred. When Catherine came home at 9, later than usual for book club, I was in the kitchen making tea. How was your evening? I asked. My voice sounded normal. British Reserve has its uses. Wonderful. We had a heated debate about Hilary Mantel's portrayal of Thomas Cromwell. She set her bag down, pulled off her scarf. His motivations in the final book are so ambiguous. She lied so smoothly. No hesitation, no guilt in her eyes. Just a smile and a kiss on my cheek. Sounds fascinating, I said. I'm going to bed. Headache. Feel better? Darling. I didn't sleep. Spent the night walking through our neighborhood, ending up at the suspension bridge at 2 in the morning. Stood there looking at the gorge, thinking about how easy it would be. One step, and the pain. My heart condition was already a ticking clock. The doctors said maybe 10 years if I was careful. But then they'd have what they wanted, wouldn't they? Catherine and David. They'd attend my funeral, play the grieving widow and brother, and nobody would know. They'd probably wait a respectful year before making their relationship public. The thought crystallized something in my chest. Colder than grief, harder than anger. I wasn't going to die convenient and quiet. I was going to make them regret every single Tuesday. The next morning, I followed her. Catherine left the house at 2, 30 on Tuesday afternoon. I'd taken the day off work, told her I was meeting an old client. Instead, I sat in my car 3 houses down and waited. She drove to Harborside, 15 minutes from our home in Clifton. David's building. I'd been there before, of course. Christmas parties. That time I helped him pick out furniture. The doorman knew me. Catherine had a key. Let herself in like she owned the place. She had an overnight bag. For book club, I parked across the street and waited. The sky turned gray, then darker. Rain started light at first, then heavy. I sat there as water streamed down the windscreen, blurring the building entrance into impressionist shapes. My chest hurt. The doctors had warned me about stress after the heart attack 3 months ago. Avoid emotional upheaval, they'd said. Watch your blood pressure. Take your medication. I watched the door instead. 4 hours I waited. 4 hours of rain and pain and 1,000 memories rewriting themselves. Every family dinner. Every holiday. Every time David had put his arm around Catherine's shoulders for a photo. Every time I'd worked late and come home to find David had stopped by to check on Catherine. How had I not seen it? At 6:45 the door opened. Catherine emerged first, then David. He walked her to her car. They stood in the rain for a moment, and then he kissed her. Not a brotherly peck. A real kiss, the kind I couldn't remember receiving from her in years. His hand cupped her face. She smiled against his mouth. Then they laughed about something. Comfortable. Easy. Like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Because they had. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. My wedding ring caught the streetlight. 42 years I'd worn it. Never taken it off, not even when I showered. Catherine drove away. David watched her go, that satisfied smile still on his face, then went back inside. His building. His life. My wife. I drove home in the rain. Got there before Catherine. She'd probably stopped somewhere to fix her hair. Make sure she looked like she'd been at book club. And not in bed with my brother. When she came home, I was sitting in the dark study. Martin, why are you sitting in the dark? Just thinking, I said. About foundations. How you don't realize they're crumbling until the whole structure collapses. Are you feeling all right? Your heart? I'm fine, I said. Just tired. She kissed the top of my head. I could smell David's cologne in her hair. Get some rest, she said. I'll make us breakfast tomorrow. After she went to bed, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Named it Foundation Inspection. Started pulling bank statements, credit card records, anything with Catherine's name on it. The details matter. And I was going to get every single one right. Wednesday morning, I called Grace Kim. She'd been my junior partner for 15 years before I retired, now ran Ashford and Associates Day. Today, brilliant architect, better person. Korean-American, 45, widowed 3 years ago. We'd grown close during my final years at the firm, shared loneliness, I suppose, though neither of us named it that. Grace, I need your help with something sensitive. Of course, Martin. What's wrong? You sound. I can't explain yet, but I need absolute discretion. Will you trust me? There was a pause. You're worrying me. I know. Can you help me organize my retirement paperwork? Tax purposes, I need you to trace some financial transfers from our joint accounts. 2008 to present. Martin, please? I'll have it ready by Thursday afternoon. Thursday, I sat in her office overlooking the harbor. Modern glass and steel, so different from the historic buildings we usually worked on. Grace had a spreadsheet pulled up on her monitor. Her face was pale. Martin, I found something. I almost didn't want to show you. Show me. She turned the screen. Rows and rows of transfers. Quarterly payments from our joint account to something labeled C. Ashford Private Household. I didn't know Catherine had a separate account. Grace said quietly. Neither did I. How much? Total. £243,600. Over 18 years. Started in 2008, quarterly transfers of 2,500 to 4,000 each. The number hit like a fist to the chest. Nearly $250,000. Our retirement money. The money I'd earned restoring cathedrals and Victorian mansions while Catherine was. There's more, Grace said. She pulled up another file. The private account has a credit card attached. I found charges. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry purchases. She showed me. The Radisson in Barcelona, March 2015. Catherine had told me she was going on a spa weekend with friends. 4 nights, nearly £3,000. Restaurant charges for 2. A necklace from a boutique I'd never seen her wear. Every transfer coincides with her trips, Grace said. The charity events. The girls' weekends. They weren't charity events. Martin, what's going on? I told her. Watched her face shift from confusion to horror to fury. Your brother? She's been with your brother. Maybe longer than 20 years. I'm still piecing it together. Grace stood up, paced to the window. That's why you need the records. You're gonna, what? Divorce. Among other things. Good. She deserves Martin. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. You've given me ammunition. Every structure needs a foundation. You just gave me mine. That Saturday I visited my son, Thomas. Brought tools, offered to help fix his garden shed. His wife Sophie had taken the kids to her mother's. We worked in comfortable silence for a while, the way we used to when he was young. Dad, you've been quiet lately. Is everything okay? I hammered a nail, considering. Thomas, do you remember anything odd about your mother and Uncle David? Growing up, I mean. He went still. Why are you asking? Just curious, Dad. Please. He set down his hammer, wouldn't meet my eyes. There was something. God, I haven't thought about this in years. I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Tell me. I was 16. Summer barbecue 2003. I came into the kitchen for drinks. Mom and Uncle David were standing really close. Too close. Their hands were touching. Not holding hands, just fingertips. But the way they jumped apart when they saw me. What did they say? Uncle David laughed it off. Said Mom had something in her eye. He was helping her. I believed him. Or I wanted to. I was 16, Dad. I didn't want to think about it. I just pushed it away. 23 years ago. Even longer than I'd thought. Why are you asking about this now? Thomas's voice cracked. Dad, what's happening? I'm learning that the people we think we know best are often strangers. Even after 42 years. Does this involve Mom? I looked at my son. At the worry in his face. The fear of knowing something he couldn't unknow. In 3 weeks, some truths are going to come out. At my birthday party. I need you to prepare yourself. You're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry. Sunday evening, I tracked down Melissa Crawford, David's ex-wife. Took some work finding her. She'd remarried, moved to Bath. Wanted nothing to do with the Ashford family. I showed up at her antique shop unannounced. Martin. She looked older, harder than I remembered. What are you doing here? I need to ask you about David's divorce. The real reason. Her face went cold. After 15 years. Why now? Because I just found out about Catherine and David, and I think you knew. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she locked the shop door, flipped the sign to closed. Come to the back. Her office was cluttered with inventory. She poured us both tea with shaking hands. I found texts on his phone in 2009, she said. From your wife. Planning to meet. Saying she loved him. I confronted David. He admitted they'd been together for years. Begged me not to tell you. Why didn't you? He paid me £150,000 to sign an NDA. Said it would destroy his relationship with you. Ruin the family. Hurt your children. Made me feel like I'd be the villain if I exposed them. She laughed bitterly. I needed the money for my daughter's education. So I took it and hated myself for 15 years. How long did he say it had been going on? He said it started around 2003, maybe 2004. But Martin, I think it was longer. There was something in the way he talked about it. Like it was this old, established thing. Not a new affair. She pulled out a folder from her desk drawer. I kept copies. Evidence. Just in case. The NDA can go to hell at this point. She handed me printouts. Texts from 2009. Catherine to David, 22 years we've been doing this. I'm tired of hiding. David to Catherine, just a bit longer. When the time is right, 22 years in 2009. They'd been together since 1987. The year Thomas was born. There's more. Melissa said. Financial records showing he'd been paying for a storage unit. I went there after he moved out. Found photos, letters. Going back to the mid-90s. She showed me. Photos of Catherine and David at places I'd never been. A beach in Greece. A cottage in the Cotswolds. Letters in Catherine's handwriting, passionate and detailed. He was living a whole second life, Melissa said. With your wife. For decades. I'm sorry, Martin. I should have told you back then. You were protecting your daughter. I was protecting myself. I didn't want the mess, but you deserve to know. I took the evidence, thanked her. Drove home feeling sick, not 20 years, possibly 30, since Thomas was a baby. maybe even before Rebecca was born. Sunday evening, Grace showed up at my door with a cardboard box. "I found these in storage," she said. "Your old files from when you retired." There were some personal items mixed in. I opened the box in my study. Architecture journals, old project photos. And at the bottom, 3 leather-bound notebooks. Catherine's journals from the 80s and 90s. I'd forgotten she used to keep them. "I'm not sure you should read those," Grace said. "It feels like I need to know everything." She left. I opened the first journal, dated 1988, March 15th, 1988. "Lost the baby today. Martin flew home for 24 hours, then back to Rome. The Basilica project couldn't wait," he said. "I'm lying in this hospital bed alone, and I've never felt more invisible." April 2, 1988. He sent flowers. Beautiful roses. Expensive. He has no idea that I don't want flowers. I want him. I want him to sit with me and acknowledge that we lost something. But he's already moved on to the next building, the next legacy project. Where do I fit in his legacy? I kept reading. Years of loneliness documented in careful handwriting. October 1990. I haven't painted in 3 years. The studio Martin built me sits empty. He asks why I don't use it, but he's never home long enough to hear the answer. I'm disappearing. I'm not Catherine anymore. Just Martin's wife, the children's mother. A role I play while the person inside dies a little more each day. Then I found an entry that stopped me cold, June 1995. David asked me to leave Martin. Come away with him. He's found a house in Cornwall, wants to start over. For a moment, I imagined it, waking up next to someone who actually sees me. But then I thought about Martin's face when I told him, the humiliation, the shock, and I realized I don't want to leave. I want him to hurt the way I've hurt. I want him to know what it's like to be invisible. So I told David no. We'll continue as we are. Martin can have his buildings. I'll have my Tuesdays. And someday when he's old and finally ready to notice me, I'll make sure he knows exactly what he missed. I read it 3 times. Catherine had had an escape route, a chance at a genuine relationship with David. She'd chosen to stay, not out of love, not even out of obligation, out of revenge. She'd been punishing me for decades. I closed the journal, sat in the dark for a long time. Grace was right. I shouldn't have read them, because now I understood. Catherine had been lonely. Genuinely, devastatingly lonely. But somewhere along the way, that loneliness had curdled into something darker. Deliberate, calculated. 2 people could be wrong in very different ways. Friday night past midnight, Catherine asleep in her room. I opened her laptop. Password June 20, 1983. Our wedding date. Her email was a disaster. She never deleted anything. Bless her terrible digital hygiene. I found the folder labeled D, buried in archived mail. I started reading. Bile rose in my throat. Barcelona planning emails from 2015. David sending her photos of hotel suites. Can't wait to have you all to myself for 4 days. Her response, Martin thinks I'm at a charity gala. He didn't even ask which charity. Discussions about when we can finally be together. Arguments about whether Catherine should leave me. David pressuring Catherine, postponing. After the children are grown, after the grandchildren arrive, after Martin retires, always after, never now. Then I found the emails from March, during my hospitalization. My heart attack that could have killed me. Catherine to David. They're saying he might not make it through the night. His heart is failing. David to Catherine, are you okay? Do you need me there? Catherine to David, no. Stay away. If he dies tonight, we need to look innocent. I'm the grieving widow. You're the supportive brother. We wait. David to Catherine, and if he pulls through. Catherine to David, the doctor told me privately. 10 years maximum with this kind of damage. He's already on blood thinners. 1 missed dose during a stressful period. I stopped breathing. Read it again. 1 missed dose during a stressful period. I checked the timestamps. This email was sent at 11:47 p.m. March 15th. I'd been admitted to hospital at 6 p.m. By midnight, Catherine was already thinking about my medication schedule. I pulled up my medical records on the hospital app. March 16th, morning, patient experienced secondary episode at 3 a.m. Blood work showed subtherapeutic anticoagulation levels. Medication administration records under review. The nurses had questioned it. Why were my blood thinner levels so low when I'd been in hospital for 9 hours? Someone had filed an incident report, but it had been dismissed as dosing error in the chaos of emergency admission. I opened another email. March 17th, David to Catherine. Did you really? Catherine to David, I couldn't help myself. He was lying there, and I just thought, if this is it, why prolong it? But they caught it. The nurse came in early for rounds. He'll be fine. Unfortunately. David to Catherine, Jesus, Kath. We can't. We have to be careful. Catherine to David, I know. I panicked. Won't happen again. We'll wait like we planned. His doctor said 10 years max. We've waited 23. What's 10 more? She'd withheld my medication. During my heart attack. Not just thought about it, actually done it. My wife had tried to kill me. I took screenshots of everything. Every damning word. Every casual discussion of my death. Every piece of evidence that this wasn't just betrayal, it was attempted murder. Then I sat back in my chair and felt something inside me turn to ice. The guilt I'd felt reading her journals, the understanding, the sympathy for her loneliness, evaporated. They'd turned me into a countdown clock. My life reduced to an obstacle between them and their happiness. My revenge would be the alarm they never saw coming. Monday morning, I told Rebecca everything. My daughter met me at a cafe in Clifton Village, away from her law office. She arrived in her usual uniform, sharp suit, leather briefcase, the controlled efficiency she'd inherited from me. Daddy's girl, people always said. She got my precision, my attention to detail. I handed her my tablet across the table. Read the folder marked evidence. She scrolled through the bank statements first. Her face went pale. Then the emails. I watched her eyes track across the screen, reading the exchanges about my death, about the medication. Her hands started shaking. Oh my God, she whispered. Dad, she tried to, oh my God, keep reading. She did. The Barcelona trip, the jewelry, the 30-plus years, Melissa's evidence. When she finished, she set down the tablet like it might explode. She tried to kill you. Dad, this isn't just divorce. This is criminal. I know. How are you so calm? I'm not. But I need to be strategic. That's why I'm telling you. Rebecca's lawyer brain kicked in. I could see it happening, shock transforming into tactical thinking. We'll go to the police, now. Attempted murder. We can prove it with the hospital records and emails. She goes to prison. Both of them might. No. She stopped. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not doing this quietly. I'm going to expose them. Publicly. At the birthday party. Then you can file charges. Dad, you can't just... She struggled for words. Why? You have all the evidence. We can handle this legally. Quietly. You don't need to humiliate her in front of everyone. Yes, I do. Why? I leaned forward. Because, if I file quietly, what happens? Catherine and David control the narrative. I become the neglectful husband who drove her away. They're the tragic lovers who couldn't help themselves. Our grandchildren grow up with their version of events. I won't allow that. But the party, Dad, it's cruel. She withheld my medication during a heart attack. Is that not cruel? Rebecca had no answer for that. I need you on my side, I said. Publicly, at the party. And I need you to prepare the charges to file the Monday after. Fraud and attempted murder. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. What do you need me to do? We spent the next hour planning. Rebecca would document everything for criminal charges. She'd stand with me at the party, make it clear she knew and supported me. She wanted to confront Catherine immediately. I stopped her. Element of surprise is essential. Can you perform normalcy for 2 weeks? Can you? I've been doing it for a week already. I don't know how. If I saw her right now, Rebecca's voice cracked. She's not my mother anymore. Not after this. She's still your mother. No. Mothers don't do this. Tuesday afternoon, I met Leonard Sullivan at his chambers. Leo, Catherine's older brother, retired family court judge. We'd known each other 42 years. I'd always liked him. Principled, fair-minded. Exactly the kind of moral authority I needed. I showed him the evidence on my laptop. Watched his face age 10 years. Jesus Christ, Martin. My own sister. She tried to. He couldn't finish. I'm sorry to put you in this position. Don't apologize. You're the victim here. He scrolled through the emails, jaw clenched. The medication tampering, that's attempted murder. You know that, right? I'm going to expose them. At my birthday party. November 9th. Leo looked up sharply. That's in 10 days. Yes. You want my legal opinion? You'd be better served going to the police immediately. This public exposure could backfire. Make you look vindictive. I don't want your legal opinion. I want your presence. At the party, standing with me. Your support would mean everything. He sat back in his chair. You want me to publicly side against my own sister? I want you to publicly side with truth. Leo was quiet for a long time. Outside his window, Bristol stretched out, the cathedral I'd helped restore, the harbor, the suspension bridge where I'd stood contemplating ending everything. She's my sister, Leo finally said. But you're right. What she did, what they did, it's indefensible. I'll stand with you, Martin, and I'll help you restructure your assets before you file irrevocable trusts for the grandchildren. She won't see a penny beyond what the law requires. Thank you. Don't me. I'm ashamed of her. Genuinely ashamed. That evening, something unexpected happened. David showed up at my door. Martin, we need to talk. I almost slammed the door in his face. Instead, I let him in, offered him whiskey, sat across from him in my study like we'd done 1,000 times before. I know you know, he said. His hands shook as he held his glass. Catherine called me. Said you've been acting strange, following her. I put it together. Did you? I want you to understand it wasn't supposed to be like this. It just happened. For 30 years, he flinched. It's complicated. Explain the complications. David set down his glass, looked at me with something like desperation. Do you remember after Mum died? You took me in, paid for everything, set up my whole life. I was grateful. I am grateful. But I was also God, Martin. I was so jealous. You had everything. The talent, the respect, the beautiful wife, the perfect family. Dad always loved you more. I was just the charming, screw-up little brother. So you took my wife. She came to me. His voice broke. That first time, 1987, you were in Edinburgh for 6 months. She was alone with a newborn and a toddler. I stopped by to check on her, and she broke down. Said she couldn't do it anymore. The loneliness. Feeling invisible. I held her. That's all I meant to do. But then you decided to keep holding her for 30 years. I loved her, Martin. I still do. Not the way you think, not just wanting what was yours. I genuinely love her. And yes, part of it was wanting to be the one who had something you couldn't. Someone who chose me over you. But it was real. Real enough to wait for me to die. He went pale. Those emails were her idea. I wanted to end it so many times. Asked her to leave you, be with me properly. She always said no, said she liked it this way. The secret, the revenge. Revenge for what? For you not noticing her. For all those years you were gone, she told me once. She said staying with you and betraying you was better than leaving you. Because leaving would have let you off easy. You'd have moved on, found someone else eventually. But this way she got to punish you for decades without you even knowing. I felt sick. And the medication. During my heart attack, David's face crumpled. I told her not to. God, Martin, I swear I told her not to. When she texted me what she'd done, I lost my mind. That's when I knew this wasn't love anymore. This was something sick. I told her we had to stop. She said it was too late. We were in too deep. You could have told me. And what? Destroy my relationship with my brother. Admit I'd been sleeping with your wife for 3 decades. Watch you never speak to me again. I'm a coward, Martin. I've always been a coward. You're the strong one, you always were. We sat in silence. The brother I'd raised, the brother I'd trusted, broken and pathetic and still trying to justify the unjustifiable. I'm going to destroy both of you, I said quietly. At my birthday party, in front of everyone. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. I know. He stood to leave. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know that means nothing. But I am. After he left, I sat in my study until dawn. David's confession hadn't changed anything. If anything, it made it worse. He'd known it was wrong, known it was destroying me, and he'd done it anyway. 10 days until the party, Catherine came home at 9, smiling, satisfied, kissed my cheek. How was book club? I asked. Wonderful, she said. Just wonderful. I smiled back. The ballroom at Bristol Harbor Hotel looked perfect. Catherine had outdone herself: white linens, crystal chandeliers, tasteful floral centerpieces. A string quartet played near the windows overlooking the harbor. 200 guests in evening wear, drinking champagne, celebrating my 70 years of life. She wore the blue dress I'd always loved. Elegant, sophisticated, exactly the image of a devoted wife. David worked the room in his expensive suit, shaking hands, telling jokes, everyone's favorite charming bachelor. My brother, my betrayer. I watched them carefully, avoid standing too close. Saw the glances they thought no one noticed. Decades of practice made them smooth. Rebecca stood rigid near the bar, her husband James's hand on her shoulder. She caught my eye, nodded once. Ready. Thomas had his arm around Sophie, oblivious. He'd brought our grandchildren. Rebecca's 2 and Thomas's 2, aged 4 to 12. Beautiful chaos in formal clothes. I kissed each of them, held them close. After tonight, family gatherings would never look like this again. Are you ready for your speech, darling? Catherine touched my arm. Grace has the video queued up. I'm ready. She smiled, squeezed my hand. 42 years. I can't believe it. I love you, Martin. I looked at her. Really looked. Searched for any sign of guilt, remorse, awareness of what was coming, nothing. Just the performance she'd perfected over 3 decades. I love you too, I said. At 8 o'clock, I took the microphone. The room quieted. Faces turned toward me. Colleagues from the architecture firm, Catherine's charity board friends, David's business associates, extended family, our children and grandchildren. Thank you all for coming tonight, I said. My voice was steady. I'd practiced this part. 70 years is worth celebrating. But more than that, I want to celebrate 42 years of marriage to my wife, Catherine. Applause. Catherine beamed from table 3. David raised his champagne glass. Catherine has been my partner, my support, the mother of my children. I paused. Let the warmth settle. I couldn't have built my career, my legacy, without her sacrifices. Tonight I want to acknowledge everything she's given me, and everything she's taken. A few confused murmurs. Catherine's smile flickered. Grace has prepared a tribute video. A look back at our family's journey. Please, everyone, watch. The lights dimmed. The screen behind me flickered to life. 15 feet high, impossible to miss. It started sweetly. Our wedding photo from 1983, Catherine in white, me in my rented tux, both of us impossibly young. Baby Rebecca in Catherine's arms. Toddler Thomas on my shoulders. Family Christmases with everyone in matching sweaters. Graduations, birthdays, anniversaries. David appeared in photo after photo. Holding baby Rebecca. Teaching Thomas to ride a bike. Standing between Catherine and me at our 40th anniversary party. His arms around both our shoulders. The music was gentle. People smiled. Some wiped their eyes. Then the music cut. The screen went black. When the image returned, it was a bank statement. Enlarged, impossible to miss. A transfer of £3,000 from Ashford joint account to C. Ashford private. Dated March 2010. Another statement, and another, years of them flashing across the screen, then a hotel receipt. The Radisson, Barcelona. 4 nights. Presidential suite. March 2015. The Tiffany card appeared. That distinctive blue. The message enlarged until it filled the screen. To my darling C. 20 years of Tuesdays. Forever yours, D. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. I heard Catherine's sharp intake of breath. The emails came next. Screenshot after screenshot. Catherine to David. One missed dose during a stressful period. David to Catherine, did you really? Catherine to David, I couldn't help myself. The nurse came in early. He'll be fine. Unfortunately, time stamped March 2025. During my hospitalization, the ballroom erupted in gasps. Someone screamed. Photos of David's building. Catherine entering with an overnight bag. Time stamped every Tuesday going back months. The pattern undeniable. Hospital incident report. Patient experienced secondary episode at 3 a.m. Blood work showed subtherapeutic anticoagulation levels. The final screen was simple text on black. My wife Catherine and my brother David, 30x year affair. The 243,600 stolen from our retirement savings. During my heart attack, Catherine withheld my medication. She tried to kill me. The lights stayed dim. The silence was absolute. Then phones came out, dozens of them, recording, photographing the screen. I stood at the microphone. Waited. Let the moment breathe. 42 years of marriage, I said into the silence. 30 years of lies. My wife Catherine and my brother David have been lovers since my son was born. They stole £243,000 from our retirement savings to fund their affair. Hotels, trips, jewelry I never saw her wear. And 3 months ago, while I was in hospital fighting for my life after my heart attack, my wife deliberately withheld my medication. She tried to kill me. Catherine stood, shaking. Tears streamed down her face. Martin, what have you done? Before I could answer, someone else stood. A woman I hadn't expected, Melissa Crawford, David's ex-wife. Standing in the back of the ballroom. He's telling the truth, she called out. I'm Melissa, David's ex-wife. David paid me £150,000 15 years ago to keep quiet about the affair. I have proof. Bank records. An NDA I'm now violating. They've been doing this for decades. And I stayed silent. I'm sorry, Martin. You deserve to know. The room exploded. Guests standing, shouting, chaos erupting. David was at the exit. Rebecca stepped in front of him. Sit down, Uncle David. You're not leaving yet. He tried to push past her. James, Rebecca's husband, blocked the other side. David turned to address the room. Desperate. This is... Martin, you're making this look worse than it is. Yes, Catherine and I have been involved. But this is more complicated than... complicated. I kept my voice level. Please, explain the complications. You were never there for her. His voice rose. 40 years. Martin. You neglected her. Left her alone while you traveled for your precious buildings. She came to me because you... Don't you dare. Rebecca's voice cut like glass. Don't you dare blame Dad for your choices. Rebecca, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a liar and a thief and an attempted murderer. I'm filing fraud charges and attempted murder charges against both of you Monday morning. You withheld his medication during a heart attack. That's not just betrayal, it's attempted homicide. The gasps grew louder. Guests were standing now, some heading for exits. Others riveted to the drama. David's face went red. That was her. I told her not to. And yet you stayed with her. Rebecca pulled papers from her purse, documented every transfer, every email, every piece of evidence of a 30-year conspiracy to defraud and ultimately kill my father. You're both going to prison. Catherine collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Rebecca, please. You're not my mother anymore, not after this. The room erupted in murmurs. Guests gathering bags, leaving, whispering. David stood frozen, trapped between Rebecca and James. Then Leo stood, Catherine's brother, the retired judge. He walked to the front, took the microphone from my hand. I'm Leonard Sullivan, he said. His voice carried authority. Catherine's brother. I need to say something. Catherine looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. My sister's actions are indefensible. Leo's voice was cold. I've known Martin for 42 years. He's been a good husband, a good father, a good man. Was he perfect? No. But nothing now justifies 30 years of lies, theft, and attempted murder. I stand with Martin. Completely. Leo, please. Catherine reached toward him. You don't understand. I was so lonely. I understand perfectly. You betrayed your husband, stole from your family, withheld medication during a heart attack to try to kill him. I'm ashamed to call you my sister. He shook my hand, looked me in the eye, then walked out. The ballroom was half empty now. The string quartet had stopped playing. Champagne glasses sat abandoned on tables. Someone's child was crying. David finally found his voice. Catherine, we should go. Started to stand. Wait. Thomas appeared from the crowd. My son, who I'd barely seen all night. His face was pale, eyes red. Mom, is any of it untrue? The affair, the money, the medication. Catherine opened her mouth, closed it. Tears streamed down her face. Mom, answer me. Did you try to kill Dad? She broke down completely. Couldn't speak. Just sobbed. Thomas looked at me. At his mother. At David. Then he took Sophie's hand and walked out with their children. The ballroom was nearly empty. Catherine sat alone at table 3, mascara running, that beautiful blue dress now looking like a costume. David stood by the exit, everyone he'd networked with tonight avoiding his eyes. I stood at the microphone, watching everything I'd built, not the architecture, but the family, the life, the 42 years crumble exactly as I'd planned. My chest hurt. The doctors were right about stress, but God, it felt like justice. Thomas took Catherine to the hotel's library. A private room off the main ballroom, wood-paneled and quiet. I saw them go, saw Sophie follow with worried eyes. I waited 30 minutes. Let Catherine compose herself. Let Thomas process. Then I followed. Thomas stood when I entered. Dad, I just need to understand why like this. Why in front of everyone? Because if I'd filed quietly, what story would they tell? That I was the neglectful husband who drove her away. That they couldn't help themselves. I needed the truth witnessed. But the grandchildren were here. They saw their grandmother try to kill their grandfather. Better they learn now that love requires honesty and safety. Thomas's jaw tightened. I can't just cut her off. She's still my mother. I'm not asking you to. Rebecca is. She won't even look at Mom. Your sister makes her own choices. So do you. Catherine sat in a leather chair, mascara streaked, hands trembling. She looked up when I approached, something in her eyes, hatred, definitely. Relief, maybe. Resignation. Can we have a moment? I asked Thomas. He hesitated. Looked at Catherine. She nodded. I'll be right outside, he said, and left us alone. The library was silent except for the distant murmur from the ballroom. Clean-up crews. Probably. The wreckage of my revenge. You humiliated me, Catherine said. Her voice was raw. In front of everyone. Our children, our friends, everyone we know. How could you? How could I? 30 years, Catherine. You tried to kill me. You left me alone for 40 years, Martin. She stood, anger finally breaking through the tears. You were never there, never. I raised our children alone. I managed our home alone. I sat through birthdays and anniversaries and school plays alone, while you chased your legacy across England. I built you a kingdom. This house, this life, our children. Everything but yourself. Her voice cracked. I didn't want the house. I wanted you. I wanted the man I married. The one who used to stay up all night, talking about buildings and art and our future. Remember him? Because he died sometime in the 90s, and left me with a stranger who only noticed me when he needed his shirts pressed. The words hit harder than I expected, because they were true. So you took my brother, my money, my dignity. You tried to take my life. I never meant it was a moment of panic. I saw you lying there and I just thought, if this is it, why prolong it? But I regretted it immediately. The nurse came in. You were fine. I had a secondary episode at 3 a.m. because my blood was too thin. I could have died. She collapsed back into the chair. I know. God, Martin, I know. I'm so messed up. I don't even recognize myself anymore. You chose this. I read your journal from 1995. David offered you a way out. You said no because you wanted to punish me. Her eyes widened. You read. You wanted me to hurt the way you hurt. Mission accomplished, Catherine. I'm destroyed. Then why? Tears started again. If you understand, why destroy me like this? Because understanding doesn't mean forgiving. My failures were neglect. Yours was cruelty. An attempted murder? You think public humiliation isn't cruel. You humiliated me privately for 30 years. I just made it public. She had no answer for that. Just sat there, broken. The woman I'd loved for 40, 2 years reduced to a stranger in a blue dress. What do you want from me? She finally asked. You've destroyed my reputation, turned our children against me, had me arrested, probably. What more can you possibly want? I want you out of my house, out of my life. I want to stop seeing your face and remembering that I wasn't enough. You were enough. Once. Before you chose buildings over people. And you chose revenge over honesty, over my life. We sat in silence. Outside I heard voices. Thomas and Sophie arguing quietly, Rebecca's sharp tone cutting through. They're fighting about me, Catherine said. Our children, your revenge is tearing them apart too. Your betrayal did that. I just exposed it. She laughed bitterly. Always so precise. Everything reduced to foundations and structures. You know what your problem is, Martin? You understand buildings perfectly, but you never learned how to understand people. Maybe not. But I learned how to survive them. I stood to leave. She grabbed my hand. I looked down at her fingers on mine. The same hands that had held mine at our wedding, through childbirth, through 40, 2 years of breakfasts and dinners and ordinary moments that I'd thought meant something. The same hands that had withheld my medication while I fought for my life. I did love you, she whispered. I still do, in some terrible, broken way. Does that matter at all? It makes it worse, I said and pulled my hand away. Thomas was waiting in the hallway. His face was anguished. Dad, I can't choose between you. Please don't make me. I'm not asking you to choose. Love your mother if you can. Just know the truth. Rebecca appeared, fury still radiating from her. Thomas, how can you even consider? She's our mother, Rebecca! She tried to kill Dad. And Dad was never home. You remember, all those years he was gone. Mom was the one who... Don't you dare justify this. Rebecca's voice was ice. Don't you dare. I watched my children fracture. The collateral damage I'd known would come but hoped might somehow be avoided. Stop, I said quietly. They both turned to me. You're allowed different responses. Rebecca, your brother isn't betraying me by still loving his mother. Thomas, your sister isn't wrong to be angry. You're both right. And you're both my children. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. How are you so calm? I'm not. But I'm done destroying things tonight. I walked away from both of them, out of the hotel, into the cold November night. Grace was waiting by my car. I'll drive you home. I nodded, couldn't speak. We drove in silence through Bristol, past the cathedral I'd restored, past the Victorian terrace I'd saved from demolition, past 40 years of legacy work that would outlast me. Was it worth it? Grace asked quietly as we pulled into my driveway. I looked at my house, the Victorian home I'd spent 5 years restoring, where Catherine would no longer live, where Sunday dinners would never be whole again, where my grandchildren would now visit a broken family instead of a happy one. Ask me in 10 years, I said, if I'm still here. 6 months later, I'm alive. Some days that's enough. Catherine was arrested Monday morning, charged with attempted murder and fraud. David was charged as an accessory to fraud. The medication tampering case is ongoing. Her lawyer argues it was negligence, not intent. My lawyer disagrees. They're both out on bail, living together in David's condo. The affair that survived 30 years in darkness is dying in custody hearings and depositions. The divorce finalized in April. I kept the house, most of the assets. Catherine will go to prison if convicted, anywhere from 5 to 15 years depending on how the trial goes. I sold the Victorian house anyway. Couldn't bear living in it anymore. Every room held ghosts. Catherine painting the nursery while pregnant with Rebecca. Thomas taking his first steps in the hallway. Sunday dinners around that antique oak table. 30 years of lies in every corner. Now I live in a modern apartment overlooking Bristol Harbor. Minimalist, clean lines. No history except what I bring with me. Floor to ceiling windows show the suspension bridge in the distance. That place where I almost ended everything the night I discovered the card. I chose to live instead. To fight. To expose the truth. Most days I think I chose right. Rebecca visits every Wednesday. She's pregnant with her 5th child, due in August. She named the baby Leo after her uncle. I want him to have an honorable name, she told me. She refuses to speak to Catherine. Won't visit her in prison if she's convicted. I don't push her. Some wounds need time. Thomas comes Sundays with his family. He visits Catherine on Saturdays, supervised visits at a neutral location, per bail conditions. He's walking a tightrope I don't envy. Trying to love us both while respecting what happened. My children barely speak to each other now. That's the collateral damage that keeps me awake at night, not Catherine's destroyed reputation or David's ruined business. The fracture between Rebecca and Thomas. That's on me. Grace comes for dinner on Fridays. We talk about architecture, about the firm she's running brilliantly without me. Sometimes we talk about other things. Carefully, we're building something, maybe. Slowly. I'm 67 and damaged goods, but she keeps showing up. You're allowed to start over, she told me last week over wine. Even at 67. Even after everything I did, you told the truth. That's not a crime. It felt like demolition. You're an architect, Martin. You know sometimes you have to demolish before you can rebuild. I don't know if I'm rebuilding. Some days I'm just surviving. The heart condition is stable. Stress levels down now that the war is over. My doctor says I might have more than 10 years if I'm careful. Last month, the architecture firm held its 15th anniversary gala. Black tie event at the Bristol Museum, celebrating 5 decades of historic preservation work. I was guest of honor. The founder, the visionary, the man who'd saved dozens of buildings from destruction. Rebecca came with James. Thomas came with Sophie. Both my children in the same room, carefully avoiding each other. The grandchildren ran through the gallery, laughing at the architectural models on display. I gave a speech about legacy, about building things that last, about creating spaces for human connection. Architecture is about more than stone and steel, I said, looking at my children in the audience. It's about creating places where people can live, love, grow together. Ironic, then, that I spent 40 years perfecting buildings while neglecting the people inside them. I paused. The room was silent. My buildings will stand for centuries. My marriage lasted 42 years, which is the real legacy. I'm still learning the answer. But I know this: relationships require the same attention to detail as any restoration project. You can't ignore the cracks in the foundation and expect the structure to stand. After the speech, I stood alone in the gallery looking at drawings from the Bristol Cathedral restoration. my masterpiece. 18 months I'd spent on that project. 18 months away from home while Catherine's loneliness deepened into resentment, then calculation, then something dark enough to withhold medication from a dying man. Grace found me there. Still your favorite project? She asked. It was. Now I'm not sure. I was gone 18 months. Missed Rebecca's 16th birthday. Thomas's graduation. Catherine's recovery from the miscarriage. What's the point of preserving history if you destroy your own? You can't undo the past. No, but I can build differently going forward. She smiled. Is that an invitation? It's a hope. I'm 67, Grace. Damaged goods. But I'm learning. We're all damaged. The question is whether we let it destroy us or teach us. What has it taught you? That honesty is more valuable than comfort. That you're braver than you think, and that it's never too late to start over. Even at 67. Especially at 67. You have 10 years, maybe more. Use them well. We stood there together, looking at my old work. Behind us I could hear my grandchildren laughing. Rebecca's voice sharp and certain. Thomas's softer, patient. My family fractured but surviving. I'm 67 years old. My doctor says I have perhaps a decade left if I'm careful with my heart. Turns out I should have been more careful with it all along, not the organ in my chest, but the capacity to love and be loved. Catherine stole decades of Tuesdays. But I gave her 40 years of loneliness. We're both guilty. But only one of us tried to turn guilt into murder. I choose truth over comfort. I choose dignity over companionship. I choose the cold satisfaction of justice over the warm lie of forgiveness. Some would call that revenge. I call it architecture. Demolishing a structure built on a rotted foundation, clearing ground for something true. Even if I never build there again, my buildings will stand for centuries. My marriage lasted 42 years. Which is the real legacy? Ask my grandchildren when they're my age. Ask them if they're grateful I told them the truth, even when it hurt. Ask them if honesty matters more than comfort. Ask them if justice was worth the cost. I think I know what they'll say. The details matter. I taught that to every architecture student, every junior partner, every client who hired me. And I finally got all the details right, even if it cost me everything to do it.